From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, show about Star Wars, pop culture, and the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Napzok.
And I'm Joseph Scrimshaw. I think we should do that with some good dramatic pauses from now on.
We should do the newsman pause. I know everyone already thinks, we're old school. We put on headphones and talk like we're delivering the news on PBS. That's because I like it. That's how you start a show, kids.
I like it too. I like just a little more formality than, hey guys, the call of the 21st century. Hey guys.
Hey guys. We're going to get into a Star Wars question today. We're doing Star Wars questions this week. We got a great one from, I'll keep the reveal of the username. It's a great username. We want to remind you, as always, today's podcast is brought to you by our merch shop on Fourth Wall. Check out our merch store. Pick up a t-shirt to help support the show and represent ForceCenter out in the galaxy. You can pick up pint glasses, tote bags, I think. Pillows, maybe, I think. I put the pillows on. I don't know. There's stuff out there. Just put your head on our faces. Well, actually, it's not our faces. That's our name. You can go to forcecenter-shop.fourthwall.com, forcecenter-shop.fourthwall.com. That is our questions. We're still racing towards our Patreon goal this week.
That's right. We have a goal to get to 417 Patreon members, paid Patreon members, by a mystery time. By the time that Disney Lucasfilm announces the physical media release of The Mandalorian and Grogu. Now, no one knows exactly when that will be, so we're hoping that we can get to our goal before that happens. But I think the announcement of it will probably happen pretty soon, because I'm sure that the film is not long for the theaters.
Yeah, I've heard. I've heard on social media.
It's not even about is it good or bad. And I so look forward to a more in-depth conversation about Mandalorian and Grogu after this summer, where He-Man stumbled, Supergirl stumbled, and I shouldn't even use stumbled. I think it's like this is maybe the new norm for genre films. Decent size opening weekend, and then perhaps a bit of a drop off.
Yeah. Welcome to Box Office Center. We'll get into it. We will get into it there. So support on Patreon, patreon.com/ForceCenter. Don't forget, with that, you can also call into our call-in show, ForceCenter Now, or any other time we go live and want to hear from you. We love doing that. So we're going to get into a question, but since it's our first show of the week, Joseph, and thanks to all who let us adjust our schedule and our released subjects this week a little bit, we are going to do little life adventures, and it's a chance for you and I to catch up too.
Yeah.
How are you?
Oh, I'm so tired.
So tired.
The horror film that I've been working on, Dead Media, is going out on a road show starting July 18th, and doing all sorts of work for it, and frankly sleeping a very limited time, getting up early and working. So I'm tired, but I'm very happy to be working on it. But I always like to be honest with you and with the audience. They're like, hey, is he okay? I'm just a little tired from working on the film. For Star Wars Adventures, I've been trying to keep up with social media because I need to do a lot of promotion, but I want to do some other things. So I try to look out. It's like, do I see something fun I can take a picture of and bank it and to share on social media? And last week I was picking my wife up from the airport, the LAX airport, and stuck in a long line. And I looked over, and there was a fire hydrant casting a shadow, and the shadow looked exactly like Grogu. And I was maybe stuck there for like a minute. And for like 30 seconds, like, oh yeah, it looks like Grogu. Like, I should take a picture of that. So I took a picture of it, and I thought, oh, this will be fun. The social media post has done well. That's lovely. I appreciate that. And if you want to have a compare contrast of the current social media landscape, it's good to have a post go well in many places. Blue Sky is lovely. Facebook wasn't really a problem. Instagram, not a problem. Threads. It went very well on Threads, something like 30,000 likes and some amount of thousands of reposts and all that. But I would say perhaps 2,000 people shared the exact same response. And it's one of those, like, I get it. We're all busy. You see a post and you want to respond to it. But I wish the social media etiquette would be I'm going to check to see if anybody else has made that response.
Yeah.
Oh, 1,999 people have made that response. Maybe I don't need to make mine. My post was just, hey, I saw this shadow and I briefly thought Grogu was real. 2,000 people. What are you talking about? He is real. Like, great. I get it.
Great.
I get it. But there was like several days where like, there's just my phone is just constant notifications of somebody saying he is real. It got kind of creepy.
Really? Wow. Yeah, this is the reason I encourage all stand-up comics to watch or stay in the green room for the show, so you can see what other comics are talking about, right?
Yeah.
So you don't come up and be like, hey, how long you guys been together? Like
we just
all 5 comics before you have done that. So it's important. It's important. Which is also my favorite follow-up reaction is when there's nothing from the crowd, then the comic goes, oh, they already asked that? Oh, okay, so sorry. Yeah, so maybe someone will do that on Threads to you. Oh, wait, did someone already post this?
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
Someday. Yeah, I'm just fascinated. I think it's just different because it's the algorithm. I think like in the glory days of Twitter, if something went well, people would go, oh, well, who is this person? And what do they normally talk about? And I think because like algorithms like Threads just like throws stuff in front of you, the actual post is so disconnected from the human. Should I choose to follow this? It's just like graffiti. And I think the feeling that a human is attached to it is diminished. Anyway.
Yeah.
That was my life adventure. Very happy people like my little Grogu shadow. Thank you for everyone for sharing it. And if you choose to believe Grogu is real, bless you.
Bless you. Bless your heart. bless your child. That's spectacular. I did see the post. It was a great photo. I didn't know it was taken in traffic. Good intro. Well, of course, LAX, you had a lot of time. You could have probably gone out and take a.
Oh, yes.
Gone out, take a shot.
I was
stuck in that ring.
Very safe. The car was not moving and would not move for a considerable amount of time.
God bless it.
How about you? You had some good adventures this weekend.
Yeah, this past weekend I went to Anaheim Fan Expo Anaheim, and it's been a much talked about con on social media in the con circles. It was a hastily thrown together convention sharing the Anaheim Convention Center with another convention, VidCon Anaheim. So I was, number one, surrounded by 12-year-olds and their confused parents. Everywhere I went, food trucks, everything. There was always like some 12-year-old, like, I'm here to see Super Dude 71. He's my favorite Twitch streamer. And then overheard too, like some 12-year-olds talking about their personal branding and here to really network. That kind of made me physically ill. But other than that, it was a good time. And I went down there to support Taffeta Darling, who was hosting some panels there. And we had a good time for that. But I also ran into Ash Crossan, our old pal, who, of course, was hosting some Star Wars panels. Got to say hi to her. And I got to sit for some of those panels. I did watch Mark Hamill and Paul Williams and Paul Dini later on Saturday in the big Batman's villains, animated villains kind of panel. Could barely hear them because there was a sound system issue there. And there was a lot of people there. But earlier in the day, I saw Ash's, one of her panels had Brendan Wayne, Lateef Crowder, Giancarlo Esposito, I'm forgetting someone else, the guy who played Dr. Pershing, him. I forget his name. Oh, my God.
Omen Abdi, I think.
Yeah. He was there. He didn't say much. I forgot. He was in the corner. Ahmed Best, Dennis Lawson, which was great, collecting some Star Wars money, and tucked in the corner, Brian Blessed. Now, I was sitting in the back.
Wait a minute.
Yes.
I was looking up Dr. Pershing's name. Yeah, Obed Abdi.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As you all know, I have to wear my glasses more and more. I can see far, but I couldn't see. I couldn't see Brian because I was focused on Ahmed, and there was a question pre-selected from the audience, and Ash presented it to the entire team, and it was like, "What's the most surreal moment you've had being in Star Wars as either a Star Wars fan or just a performer?" Dennis Lawson told a great story of shooting the X-wing stuff, like not really knowing what the hell we're doing. And then we all got to see the film in London as a part of a cast and crew screening, and we were blown away. Oh my God, that's what we're a part of. Oh my gosh, we'll see it. And it was a great story. Ahmed told a wonderfully long story about his first day meeting George Lucas and the early Jar Jar days. He did great stuff of, I don't know, it seems like Jar Jar might have gotten there first, ran so Gollum could fly kind of thing, which I know is very deep in his heart, that feeling. And he told the story of meeting George. The first time he met George, he was in his, motion capture suit. And George made a joke or a reference to what he could see in the suit. And it was a fun time. So I'm focused on this, right? And then they go, I hear them go, and here, what about you? And the mic goes down. And at that point, I kind of was like, who is on the edge? I can't see. And they hand the microphone, and the first thing you hear is, "I'm quite a fan of boxing." And I was like, oh, it's Brian Blessed. Oh, it's amazing. And he proceeds, I will spare you all my Brian Blessed Boss Nass impersonation, but he tells a 9-minute story, 10-minute story about being a boxing fan. And a lot of people don't know I'm trained in the boxing arts. And he talked about a dinner in the 60s or something where he was at a table with Joe Louis and Rocky Marciano and all these kind of boxing legends. And I asked them, who was the greatest heavyweight champion of all time? And it was Rocky Marciano. Do you know he was only 5'9"? And I was trained, no one's saying anything. The crowd is just like, and then he just goes, and he hands the mic back, and he just slinks back to his chair. I was like, this is the greatest panel moment I've ever witnessed. And I texted Ash later, like, is his boxing story still going? She was like, it was amazing. I don't know. But yeah, so I have seen Brian Blessed, and I now know he's a fan of the boxing arts.
And no circle back to Star Wars?
Nope. Had nothing to do with Star Wars or the question. It had nothing to do with the question. What's the most? I mean, I guess personally, it could have been surreal for him to be sitting at a table with the boxing legends. I guess that might have been surreal.
Yeah.
But no acknowledgement that he was there for a Star Wars panel.
That's hilarious.
It was great. It was great. So that was my Star Wars adventure. See that? And I saw a lot of great Star Wars cosplay and ran into a couple of ForceCenter listeners out there. Yeah, so that was always good. Shout out to Kenny, and it was a good time. Good time had by all.
Awesome.
Including Mark Hamill, and especially Brian Blessed.
Yeah, and I think I've seen some various clips of Mark Hamill's talk. He's such a good convention talker. And yeah, I look forward to checking out more of the clips.
They're out there. Well, that's our big Star Wars Life adventure. We could almost end the show there on Brian Blessed's boxing story. But no, we got a great question we're going to get to today. What have we got?
We have a question from one of our paid Patreon members. This is one of the things that you get if you become a part of the Patreon community, is asking questions like this. This comes to us from a gentleman whose real name is Marco, which they included. I'm not outing Marco. But their chosen username in our Patreon, and perhaps elsewhere, is Blaster Gas. So this deep thought comes to you from Blaster Gas. Blaster Gas says, hello, I've been thinking about the structure of the Star Wars trilogies, and I wondered if you might agree with a theory I've been developing. It seems to me that peak Star Wars, in quotes, peak Star Wars often happens in the middle act of each trilogy. The first film tends to introduce the characters in the world, and the final film resolves the story, but the middle chapter is where the characters deepen and the galaxy really opens up. For example, The Empire Strikes Back expands the universe dramatically while pushing Luke, Han, and Leia into more complex emotional territory. Attack of the Clones builds the political and historical foundations of the Clone Wars and deepens Anakin's internal conflict. And The Last Jedi explores the character's failure, belief, and identities in ways that reshape how we understand the saga. So my question is, do you think the middle chapter is where Star Wars storytelling tends to be at its richest, because that's where the most character development and world building can happen? Thank you for all the thoughtful conversations you bring to the saga every week. May the Force be with you, Marco, a.k.a. Blaster Gas. This is a great question. I think it is. It's definitely a theory that gets discussed that we haven't touched on in a while, but I think there's some really fun wrinkles to it. And in particular, that Blaster Gas brings up not just the potential for character depth, but the potential for world building. So how do you feel? Let's start there. How do you feel about the world building? Do you think the middle chapters of the three trilogies have more elbow room to world build, or have just done more world building?
I think generally, yeah. We'll keep it to Star Wars. We'll talk about our Sid Field screenplay tips later, I guess, here. But I think it's just natural, right? Especially I look at A New Hope, and you get to establish that world, and George has a lot of thoughts, and he has a lot of planet and character names in his back pocket, maybe literally on a piece of paper, but you don't know if you're going to get to do that. And you're trying to tell the sleekest story. You have a little bit more studio heads in your ear. Though it definitely seems as though he was able to get a lot of
Mm-hmm.
creative freedom during that time. Thanks, probably Alan Jr. But yeah, then then you're like, wow, okay, that worked, and we get to do it again, but we get to do more. That's kind of the spirit behind it. I think this question in those middle chapters, like, all right, let's take it forward. The difference is the other two, I think they kind of knew it was happening, right? Sure
Mm-hmm.
thing, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm fascinated by that angle of going, all right, now what? To me, it's just a big now what question, and where and how and all these things, and you get a chance to build and add and just kind of take the world, take us deeper into the world, obviously with the world, but it's just fun. That's my opening statement is, prepare like you are going to get the chance that you don't think you'll get to tell your story.
Yeah, no, I really like that. And like Empire Strikes Back, unless they just ended up repeating A New Hope, which many people would have encouraged them to do, because that was the
Hmm.
standard of like,
Yeah.
well, Jaws was really successful, so let's make another one like that.
Hmm.
And so I think The Empire Strikes Back, I think one always has to consider what a huge swing it was to say, no, we're telling a 3-act story and we're gonna deepen it, and it's not going to go great for our heroes, and we're not going to go to another sand planet, and we're not going to have the same kind of space fight, and we're going to have a different kind of lightsaber fight, and all those things that Empire, by you know that
Hmm.
choice to not be samey, Hoth and Dagobah and Yoda, and learning more about the Force and the asteroid chase, and all sorts of world building, the nature of Bespin, Cloud City,
Hmm.
meeting a business administrator,
Right.
all sorts of stuff. And I think Attack of the Clones too. We saw Coruscant, but in Phantom Menace, but we spent so much more time on Coruscant and the all of the clones and Camino and uh,
Hmm.
Boba Fett's backstory and all sorts of things. Um, Last Jedi at first was like, ooh, did we do as much world building? But then I thought about Octo.
Hmm.
Octo adds a lot. Canto Bite adds a lot to the picture of the way the galaxy is set up. I think all the best Star Wars films introduce new ideas, like the idea of the Holdo maneuver, all sorts of stuff. So
Hmm.
I think it bears out. It's not like the first and the third don't introduce things, but I
Right.
think they're all solid world builders. Um,
Yeah.
a part of it, I think, for the second act is I don't know if Attack of the Clones fits this model, but Empire and Last Jedi are structured similarly, where
Hmm.
I think there is less plot, so there is more room for character development. And I think in both of those
Right.
films, it's a choice. The characters certainly advance, their relationships advance, so the overall story advances, but the actual plot, like events that must happen, both Empire and Last Jedi are slow chase movies. Um,
Hmm.
Attack of the Clones, I think,
Hmm.
has a little bit more plot
Hmm.
going on with Obi-Wan uncovering everything and introducing us to the Separatists and getting a war started and all that. How do you
Hmm.
feel about the level of plot versus level of character development in the middle chapters?
That is a great way to analytically look at Irving Kershner saying, I just had to have a bunch of smooching. All I could have was smooching. That's exactly correct, right? And look, I think 1, 2, and 3, we're gonna, Revenge of the Sith is generally considered not only the best, but the one most enjoyed, which kind of bucks this trend that I think's with the other films,
Hmm.
and just things when they finish in general. I'd love to talk about too, but yeah, in terms of plot, yeah, yeah, you're right. It is the most interesting chapter for a lot of reasons related to the floors pulled out underneath all of our heroes we've met. Sometimes quite literally, there's smudges on their face, they're bloodstains, and there's just more that they're dealing with as opposed to what's going on. So yeah, that just as a writer, I think that's fertile ground to play with. I think
Hmm.
when it's, we always talk about the long dark tea time of the soul moment in scripts, um, and I think it's just a little more fun to write that in shows. Maybe I don't know.
Hmm. Hmm. How much do you feel like I'm sure he's talked about this in interviews. But how much do you feel like Ryan Johnson looked at the model of Empire Strikes Back and said, "This is an interesting way to structure it"? I know some
Hmm.
people don't like the way the prolonged chase is set up in the Last Jedi, but it is plot wise, it is
Hmm.
similar to the Empire Strikes Back. The characters
Right.
are on the run. They're trying to find different ways to handle being right under the boot, about to be caught. And in
Yeah.
their attempts to do different things about it, we learn more about them. Do you think that that was purposeful?
Possibly, but to say so would sound like not us, but others might use that to write off anything here. A carbon copy. I had a text with a friend last night, like that, nothing original in 7, 8, and 9. And I don't necessarily think that's the case,
No.
but yeah, it is similar indeed. And I just think there's a lot of that's kind of how these stories go. Looking across at the Lord of the Rings trilogy from Jackson, and I'm not talking about the books here, just talking about those 3 movies. Two Towers is the same thing, right? A lot of people being chased or running away, maybe slowly over the course of days or hours. And everyone's separated and scattered and trying to learn who they are or see if they can get through it to come back together and save the day. So I just think maybe there's also a little bit of that's just kind of the way it goes when you're putting together these big stories.
Yeah, and in terms of these being the trilogies being the 3 act structure, the second
Yeah.
act is, yes, the characters are in a new world and now they are tested by it,
Hmm.
and I think that's a lot of what's going on. Uh, I love Attack the Clones. I'm okay being not alone in that by any means, but that it's not many people's favorite Star Wars film. I know a lot of our ForceCenter friends love it, and it's their favorite. But as you said, Revenge of the Sith is often the one that gets the kudos. Do you feel like Attack the Clones fits in with Empire and Last Jedi?
Um, yeah. And so kind of the overall people are scattered trying to figure it out. But I do think this is what I would love to give credit to George on, sometimes thrown against the prequels as a complaint, but he did his own thing. And also the ending, he's working towards a point that we all generally know. I'm talking about Revenge of the Sith. We generally know we're going to get there. So he's playing with a different deck of cards. So I think it feels different to me. But I think if we were to break it down with some of the big things we're talking about, it would line up. But it just feels different to George's credit. Whether you like it or not, I know a lot don't. I was reminded yesterday. I get it. It does its own thing too, as well as feel like a second chapter.
Yeah. I think for me, it's got a little bit more plot just because there is the different structure of the time jump and needing to really set up the reason for the Clone Wars. It's spinning a few more plates. But yeah, it's got a very similar of our characters are separated. It's got the romance that is mirrored very much Empire Strikes Back. It's got the tragic ending where our characters didn't really win, and closes with loved ones staring off at the distance. Luke and Leia are not the same as Anakin and Padme. So that romance comparison,
Almost.
yeah. But I think Obi-Wan doesn't go on like, I don't think Obi-Wan is deeply changed, but I think we also learn a lot about him and we learn so much about his perspective and his world. I don't think it's about him like being challenged and deeply changed. I think he's steadfast, but I think we learn a lot about who he is and how he operates and how he feels about the world and the connections that he has. So I think Attack of the Clones has great sort of character depth in that way.
The time jump would definitely affect this too, right? Breaking up the format just a little bit of and in some ways, Force Awakens and The Last Jedi has almost no time jump, right? Really, minutes, seconds, if you want to look at it that way. But yeah, that's also what Attack of the Clones has different things to do as well. Here we are 10 years later. Let's build it back up.
Ken, how do you feel these days about Attack of the Clones? Like, if for your personal enjoyment or your ranking of like, this is what I think is the best made film. Do you lean toward Revenge of the Sith?
I lean towards Phantom Menace.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, Sith. Yeah, Sith is it's a great Star Wars entry. It has one of my favorite soundtracks and scores, and the opening and all the things I do love in it. So yeah, but I find myself putting on the Phantom Menace more because maybe it is a little more self-contained. Maybe it goes through all of that in its own 5-act structure, George structure, whatever. And I'm someone who's not too worried about those structures. So I find myself gravitating towards that more. And in terms of Attack of the Clones, yeah. Though I still say maybe it might be one of my lower rated Star Wars films if you're going to force me to do that silly game. Not you, but
Mm-hmm.
society. But there's just so much in that film of the world building.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we get Dex's Diner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like now I
Jocasta
know where they
knew.
eat their. Yeah, that's where I know they eat their flapjacks. That's
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy exploring that a lot more.
Yeah. In terms of like enjoyment, we've been
Mhm.
looking at a little bit of the analysis that Marco suggested. In terms of enjoying the darker middle chapter where the characters go through hell, do you enjoy that? Is that a part of what moves Empire in Last Jedi up in your esteem?
Yeah, this. I'm glad you catered this. Maybe. I am also a defender of endings. I am. I think, and this isn't about quality, and that every ending in every show and movie series is done perfectly. I think it's possible to mess them up, but I wish someone smarter than me could sit down and tell me why, as a society, we don't generally like endings, and I think it has to do with once a movie ends or a story ends where it is everyone's hurt and scattered and kind of emerging to the third act of their overall arc. Um, that is interesting stuff, right? That is when
Mm-hmm.
you like seeing them go through things. You maybe feel that's what you're going through, even though you're watching a space fantasy. I am trying to get that princess to love me. I am stuck on I'm trying to learn from a master. All those things you're going through, and then we have ideas on how it should end, and that's why the second one seems so fun, and the final ones always have a tendency to maybe disappoint
Mm-hmm.
because I just don't think you can blame yourself or stop. We all have an idea of where we think this would end up. How will this go? And maybe that's a different question for another day of endings and why they seem to hurt people so much. But that means we love rolling around in the mud. I think there's something we all attach to it because maybe we all feel like we're rolling in the mud.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely the way I feel about most of the middle chapters. Empire I really gravitated. I always liked it when I first saw it. I saw it at the exact right age, and it just like imprinted deep in my soul. I love Yoda,
Mm-hmm.
but as I was watching the films on VHS a ton in my late teens and early 20s, Empire is the one that I just held in the greatest esteem. And I think it was exactly for the reason you're talking about, going through a hard time of like, yes, trying to find romance, trying to figure out what I'm doing in life, and just like, watching Luke just get his ass kicked and be like, yeah, that's me, man. you know,
Mm-hmm.
so relatable. And I know I love Attack of the Clones because it's so weird and it's so pulpy, and I love a lot of the individual scenes, the individual ideas, and I think there is that sense of uh, being lost and confused in it as well. It's not as direct as Empire. In Last Jedi, I certainly relate to what Luke is going through.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I made good choices in life, but um,
Mm-hmm.
but I know there are a lot of people who are challenged by the endings, and I think that's a really great analysis of when the story is in the middle, you can align with yours because your story is in the middle, and how is this all going to end for you? But then you're almost a little bit bumped off the catharsis ride of like, well, and that's how it ended for them. And there's that like, is that how I would have ended it? But it's also like they got to their happy ending, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
are you
Mm-hmm.
still riding vicariously with them? Did you get your happy ending?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but on the flip side, I know there are a lot of people who prefer the endings because they don't want to just be in the darkness and uncertainty of the middle chapter. I know our friend Marcellus is like, I like happy endings. He's a Return of the
Turn the
Jedi
Jedi.
guy,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
a lot, and
Yep.
we've heard that from a lot of ForceCenter friends of like, yep, Empire's really well made, but I want to watch Return of the Jedi because it's the happy
Mm-hmm.
celebration with fireworks and the Ewoks dance, and um,
Mm-hmm.
I think some people, not Ewoks dancing, I think people feel like Revenge of the Sith is the most satisfying film. The prequel, I don't know if that's about
Mm-hmm.
celebration. Rise of Skywalker
Right.
gets more complex because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there's so many folks who it's not for them, and that emotion is very strong when it's not for them. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so how do you feel about the people who prefer the ending, prefer the final chapter with the resolution?
I think we're just a happier, cheerier people. No, I'm kidding. I can only speak from my vantage point of why I do generally like endings. I may have mentioned this before, but when I was like a kid, and even reading a New Hope novelization, I remember doing this. I'd seen the film, obviously. I'd get to the end, and they blow up the Death Star, and they get their medal. I would. Here I am, 7, 8 years old, just like looking out the window, going, "Wow, what a journey! What a journey!" And I would literally flip back to the beginning chapters and kind of almost reread parts of it, and have this like they didn't even know what was about to happen to him. Luke thought this, and he was stuck on this planet. Now he's over here, and I'm just kind of moved by that. And I do this a lot. There's days where I'm like, I just need to watch Fellowship of the Rings, and no one knows yet. No one knows the horrors, the loss, and the victories that are coming, and I'm just fascinated by that. And maybe that's because I'm also fascinated in certain parts of history. I've talked about before, of like Saturday Night Live in the first 5 years, Sunset Strip in the 80s, or a period of time where there's like, you all didn't know that all 20 of you were creating a movement, were creating a genre, creating a show that would last for 50 years. You were just being yourself. You were doing it. And I love going back to look at that spot and be like, none of them knew they were legends. They were just doing their thing. And I think I'm fascinated with that. And then that ties for me into the ending. When I see Rey and Finn and Poe hugging and tears in their eyes, both probably as characters and as performers, and as the humans playing the characters, I get moved, and I want to go back to the beginning again and be like, wow, they didn't know when they ran into each other. They did not know what they were about to do. Return of the Jedi has that. Last Crusade, which we are fans here of Crystal Skull and Destiny. We are not one of those, there's only 3 Indiana Jones movies people. We ran into one recently, you and I together, a person we love, but he kind of made that shot. But even that, I just did my big kind of rewatch in a weird order. It wasn't any, it was like Dial of Destiny, Kingdom, Raiders. Yeah, Last Crusade, Raiders. It was all over the map. But I was watching Last Crusade, and again, of the original 3, is Raiders probably the better made film of all 3 of them? Yeah, sure. But Last Crusade's my favorite one. And I love the final moments that are, you named after a dog, and they ride off. Marcus Brody leads away in the sun. And that, if that was all we got, that would have satisfied me, because I get to go imagine what they go on to do. And I just like that. I like it because that is the ending of the character, so to speak, at that time. So I'm just drawn to it, and I accept it. And I've said before, I look at these things as living documents of real stories happening in front of me. Grogu's real, Joseph, is what I'm saying. Grogu's real.
Let me know on threads.
And I'm like, yeah, and I'm not saying this is my way is better than any other way. I'm just the way I've always approached it. I've talked about it here. I remember talking about Collider Jedi Council one time. If this is what happens, I go, oh, that's what happens. That's the decision they made. That's the victory they won. And I love being there with those characters at those moments. So that's my soapbox on endings. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think there's this idea that I think a bias in our society that the meaning is contained in the end. And certainly a lot of times with any story that Star Wars that is explicitly trying to teach a point, like, yes, the characters make their best choice and come to their point at the end of the story. Like the point of Vader is making a better choice at the end. The people who watch The Last Jedi and think it's about the past should die, like, nope, the meaning is contained in the end when Luke says, I will not be the last Jedi. So sometimes it is literally true, but it's also kind of like a bias we have as a culture that's the only part of the story that you can ultimately sort of pull meaning from.
That's interesting.
And I think that can be a satisfying part of it, of like, what has all this been leading to? Why have I been watching this story? What is the final point, the final idea to take away? I think when Star Wars does a good job with the sort of mythic, it does a good job of the characters have crossed a threshold and they have become who they are going to be. They have returned home, sometimes literally, but more often metaphorically, returned home having changed from their experiences. And I think that, in a way, can also be really, really satisfying, because I think a lot of us can relate to that, of not necessarily like, I got to that perfect place in life, but I finished this journey and I have the lessons and the pride, and I have the wounds from it as well here at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of my favorite parts of Return of the Jedi, that for Luke, it is kind of bittersweet of like, I became who I needed to be, but I lost all these people and I'm on this new journey, and what will it be? And there's a little sense of bittersweetness about Luke. Well, like, great, Ewoks are chugging their Ewok mead and
Mm-hmm.
dancing away and
Yeah,
drumming
yeah,
on helmets. And Luke's like, I've been through some stuff, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, well said. Yeah, I don't know. You're also talking to someone who in the theater was like, "Why are you all laughing at the 9 endings of Return of the King?" That not only is it kind of book accurate-ish, it's also like I want to know.
Yeah.
Get a chance to stay with these characters afterwards. We don't get that a lot. I love that. Anyways, but that to say, I'm still drawn to the middles. Two Towers is my favorite of those films. I do like the struggle. So. Definitely, I relate to that as well.
Yeah. Here's my final question for you, because I think this comes up for me a lot on discussions of the middle chapter in the Star Wars trilogy in general. For me, I think there is a difference between what's my just personal favorite, it's just that's what I gravitate to, versus what do I personally feel is the best made film. And when I say best made, I mean like
Mm-hmm.
every element. The acting is fantastic, the writing is fantastic, the cinematography is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
In general, it's the safest one to bring up at a party because everybody agrees that one is really well made. The ones where your immediate response isn't, here's the list of common grievances, right? And
Mm-hmm.
my going through the trilogy, the ones that I personally feel are the best made versus the ones that I personally gravitate to, it changes. For the original trilogy, I feel Empire is the best made, and it is my personal favorite. For the prequels, I think Revenge of the Sith is the best made, but Attack the Clones is my personal favorite. For the sequel trilogy, I think The Last Jedi is the best made, but I gravitate toward Rise of Skywalker, which I know blows people's minds.
I'd sent a text message to someone, Star Wars author who we're going to interview soon, Madeline Root, and I was just like talking about some stuff and related to her book. So I'm trying to be careful here, but I was just like, yeah, over at ForceCenter, we think Rise of Skywalker is really misunderstood, and we love it, and people think we're crazy.
But do we not know the grievances? And if you don't like it, as always, if you don't like it, that's just fine. It's just the heat on that one, the temperature of that opinion is still there's very little. Everybody has a different opinion. That's okay, except for Rise of Skywalker. If you like that, you're a wild, out of control person. So how do you feel about that difference? And does it come up for you? I acknowledge that I think this one is probably the best made, but I gravitate toward this one.
Yeah, that happens so many times, right? Absolutely, so many times in terms of trilogies and stuff. I mean, we can go down a pop culture list and discuss things like Back to the Future 1 is perhaps a perfect movie. I like 3. I'm a really big fan of 3. Maybe because I grew up wanting to live in 1882. Same. Empire blows my mind sometimes. There's times I sit down, as I was saying at the beginning of the show, where I'm just like, I wasn't aware. Our age difference is just enough that you're sitting in this theater at Empire going, I'm watching Star Wars, where I was just like, that's Battlestar Buck Rogers. So, but I watch it sometimes now and just like, could you imagine what that felt like? We got the Star Destroyer comes over your head in New Hope, and you're like, wow. And then you come here and everything is different, and you are very, very clearly the heroes aren't winning. The movie title tells it all. And I would have I would have been blown away by it. So I love that. But yeah, dancing along with Ewoks is where my heart is often. And I think the only time it kind of aligns is maybe Two Towers. I do think that is the sleekest of them all in terms of Jackson's first trilogy, and aligns with my also like to watch it just to have it on. So yeah, so I'm right there with you. Yeah, I'm aligned. And same with the rest. Again, we make jokes. We get it. I get the blank stares at parties. Or coming off a set, say you're doing some fighting about movies, and the entire crew looks at you like you're naked because you said, "Oh, I like watching Rise of Skywalker the best."
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Yeah,
It
I
is
feel the
what it
same
is.
thing.
Yeah. Well, I think this has been a great discussion about analyzing why we like different parts of the trilogies, and being totally open to having conflicting opinions, even within your own soul. Uh,
Hmm.
but big picture, I do think that that Blaster Gas has a great point. That I think, in general, the second act of a trilogy is able to slow down, do a little less plot, and a little bit more character depth. And I think, particularly with Empire and Last Jedi, that really, really, really shows. And I say that as somebody who loves Attack of the Clones. So no dig there.
Yeah, no dig indeed. Discussion could go on and on and on, but analyzing story structures and all those good things. But at the end of the day, it's just where does your heart lead you?
Mm-hmm.
Or as Aragorn told Gandalf, what does your heart tell you? Go there. The Frodo is alive. I've been watching those two. They're on my mind. Thank you all. Thank you, Blaster Gas, which said in certain ways sounds like a Star Wars cuss word, right?
Blaster Gas.
Marco, we appreciate it. Great question.
Mm-hmm.
And all of you out there, go to our Patreon page, join up, and you can ask questions as well and give the full context of your question, which we enjoy here. So that is it for now. But on the way out, we'll remind you we are on social media at ForceCenter Pod. You can support us at Patreon, patreon.com/ForceCenter. TeePublic is still up and running if you want merch there, or you can go to Fourth Wall and get more merch over there. And you can follow me at Ken Napzok. Go to my website, kennapzok.com, and you can get links to tickets to my comedy show. Not mine, the show I am on, I should say, with Jen Sturger. She's headlining with Mark Ellis down at Comic-Con. Thursday show, 7 p.m. Tickets there. Joseph, a lot of information to get from you about what's going on with your film and where they can find it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In the coming days, the entire road show schedule for our horror film Dead Media will be rolled out. But right now, you can get tickets to the premiere in Los Angeles. That is Saturday, July 18th at Brain Dead Studios. It's not just a screening. There's going to be an introduction from me. There's going to be a Q&A hosted by horror filmmaker Joe Lynch with some of the cast and crew members, including the great James Urbaniak. So if you are in the Los Angeles area or feel like a road trip, join us for the premiere, the Los Angeles premiere of Dead Media. Info on all that is on antennareleasing.com/films/Dead Media, or I will be, posting about it on all the social media. So come find me at Joseph Scrimshaw everywhere.
There you go. And let him know that Grogu is in fact real. There you go. That's it. We'll see you next time here on ForceCenter.